vertigo character. I am Lilith, one of your hosts, and joining me, as always, is...
Hey everyone, it's me, Phil.
For discussion today is issue 40 of Saga of the Swamp Thing. It is called The Curse, and it is really edgy for the time, I think.
Well, I just read this, and I didn't read it at the time, but why do you think it was so edgy?
It's also kind of loosely based on that movie about how menstrual cycles and werewolves, it's like, oh, every full moon or every 28 days or whatever, a woman just goes absolutely crazy, and it's called The Curse, and of course, you know, that's kind of like a biblical reference to a woman's menses and things like that. I mean, this is 1985. I think this is like three or 4 years before Married with Children did that episode with all the women being on their period at the same time. Like, just women and menstrual cycles, and let alone in like a male-oriented comic book. I think that was just really edgy for 1985.
I got the analogy, but I guess 1985, that would be, well, Alan Moore.
Right? I mean, basically at that point, that's all you can really say when you're at a loss for words.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I did like it though that a lot of it is just more suspense, or like, the other issues, like but this felt more like closer to a superhero story, because like Swamp Thing had like one antagonist to fight, and who could give him a run for his money, and but you still had that supernatural horror vibe.
Werewolves, man, you can't really go wrong with last week it was vampires, this week it's werewolves. We're kind of working our way through, the mythology. I love the blurb for this, though. It's just like, when an old dark power terrorizes a small town, it's up to Swamp Thing to get to the bottom of the nightmare situation. Meanwhile, Abby, being Abby, I added that, begins questioning John Constantine's relationship with Swamp Thing, because damn it, he's hers. So yeah, I just kind of was like, it's like, meanwhile, Abby's like, John, what are you doing? And that's their relationship for the rest of the freaking books. I like that they're setting up this tension in between them. I really enjoy it, because Abby just wants what's best for him no matter what, and she obviously knows John is not going to be that thing for him. Mm-hmm. From the off the bat.
Do you think between like a jealous Abby and like the whole monthly curse thing, do you think Alan Moore had issues with women?
You know what? I don't think that he has issues with women at all. I think that this was like kind of a really great concept, especially the way that he handles it in the end of this. I really love the Native American vibes and the explanations that they gave. I was just really shocked that we opened up with a woman shopping for feminine products. I was just like, oh, okay. I mean, that's awesome. Doesn't bother me, but isn't this more geared towards dudes?
That's probably how some boys, and that's how they learned about such things.
I would hope so, maybe. Comic books can be helpful for some things. So yeah, that's what really kind of shocked me, and I was just like, wow, I like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read this one in like 96 though, but that was still actually kind of technically edgy, honestly.
Oh yeah.
So, we meet a lady named Phoebe, and she has a crappy husband. Oh, this is just like, it's really funny. It's just like all the stereotypical like menstrual cycle jokes you could cram into one issue. But like, it was still compelling for me. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was creepy horror. I mean, she basically shed her skin to turn into the werewolf.
Have you ever seen that movie? Where it's like the young girl, she gets her period for the first time, and she's got like a little sister, and she turns into the werewolf or whatever?
No.
I can't think of the name of the movie, and I know like all the horror movie buff people are yelling at me right now, but I can't think of it. It's escaping me. But yeah, it was a movie kind of started like this, and it just tickled me to death when I was reading this, because I remember watching that movie, and I was just like, this is awesome. Yes, peel out of that skin. I like creepy horror, so I mean, the more gore, the better for me. And I just couldn't believe they were actually doing this. I mean, the mer vampire people were spooky, but they weren't like, they had teeth and claws, but they weren't peeling skin off and eating eyeballs like grapes. So.
Oh yeah, I thought that was really cool horror, because usually in most werewolf stories, people just like kind of morph and like grow hair.
Yep. I think that had a lot to do with the traditional, like, Native American version of werewolves or whatever. Like I said, I really enjoyed that influence on the story. I thought it was pretty cool. Roy's a dick, of course, because every guy named Roy has to be a dick.
No.
In the DC Vertigo universe, anyway, apparently. What did you think about the final confrontation with her and Alec in the grocery store?
uh, was it was pretty pretty sad because she basically just like took herself out.
She's just like, yes, let me jump on all these knives. Here you go.
But it's like, well, here are my two questions. Did they? I don't think. Did they ever fully? Did they ever explain how she became a werewolf? Because this seemed like maybe this was her first transformation.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like her first transformation, but they don't explain it. And I kind of like that, where they just kind of leave the mystery. And I have a sneaky suspicion that they wanted to kind of get back around to this and maybe develop a story from it, but then that kind of got dropped. A lot of these stories were kind of like that. They were kind of just filling out the waters of what they could spin off next, because they had these anthology horror story series going on, which Swamp Thing originally came from. So they were just trying to get back to that in a lot of these cases, and I really feel like this was like kind of the testing ground for a lot of that. But in this instance, it actually works, and I'm actually more compelled with the Swamp Thing part of the story than the Constantine and Abby part. It's just like basically Constantine just kind of blows into town. He's like, "Here's a note. This is the next location." And Alex's like, "I'm not gonna go." He's like, "Yeah, sure, mate, whatever," knowing full well Alex's gonna go because duh, Louisiana.
No. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like we really didn't get much Constantine except for like that last page.
So yeah, I mean, and that's fine. They're keeping him in the background. We kind of see him nudging him into this one direction, and we see Abby being the quintessential Abby that she's going to be from here on out when it comes to John Constantine. So I don't know. I really like that antagonistic relationship between them. I kind of forgot that it was there right from the start, honestly. So, so yeah, who wrote this? Alan Moore wrote this, and then we had John Sullivan. He did the cover. He also was the inker. And then who was the straight up artist? Steve Bissette. Wow. A name you don't really hear that often in the DC universe anymore, unfortunately. What'd you think of the cover?
Um, I liked it. I don't think there was a bad cover in this whole trade. Really like artistic. I like here. I just pulled it up. I like the just like the what do I want to say, the like your perspective. You just it's like closer to the werewolf, but she's in shadow and
Yeah, I like that it's a straightforward cover. For the most part in Swamp Thing, they're very straightforward covers, and I like that. And it's that well, and it's 85, but this still has like a 70s throwback vibe to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's why I think it was so good, is because it had all that stuff. It had that 70s vibe, and it was still like the horror, or the sophisticated suspense that's on the cover. But it kind of like I was saying, it felt more of a superhero vibe to me than the other issues did. So
yeah,
I think that's when you get good stories, when you can get like people can see it from a bunch of different ways, and you have all these different elements mixed in.
That's what Swamp Thing does best, I personally think, and I agree with that statement definitely. Um, what did you have a favorite panel at all?
Probably. I know it has to be like a. Let me look through this. It had to be a Swamp Thing, werewolf thing. Hmm. It probably there's a lot of good in this. It might just have to be the transformation one when she when she shed her skin. I was just like, oh, I was just like, okay, we're going there. Wow. Oh, that's a whole page, but no, probably just that final panel in that page when she's fully transformed and facing down the dick husband.
I think for fun, for craps and giggles, I really like the page 3 kind of primer. It's Abby and Swamp Thing kissing on a rock in the swamp. I really, like I said, I really enjoyed their relationship, and this gets downplayed a lot in the American Gothic arc, but it trust me, it gets back to being really heated and complicated and interesting later on. But I just kind of enjoy them together in these like little brief things that they give us without much dialogue. And then also, I just like when Constantine shows up, because Swamp Thing's chilling by a tree. And then he's like, evening, sup, dude? Got this little note for you. Do what you want to do with it, but I know I'll be seeing you again, and I'm just gonna mosey off into the sunset. Yeah, and then I just love how they didn't ever really make a big to do about the next issue. It's always like in the little tiny print in the corner, next Southern change. I'm just like, I miss the subtlety of 80s comic books, man. I do.
Yeah.
All around, really great issue. What would you give it as a grade?
I would have to give it. I'm gonna give it an A.
Ooh.
I would say probably because it's one of my favorite, if not probably the one of the, if not the favorite issue in this collection, probably.
Oh, very cool. I would give this a B. Because like really, when I'm reading this particular arc of Swamp Thing, it's I'm here for Constantine. I want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
They're not giving it to me right at the beginning, and it's a good thing overall. But as you're rereading it, you're just like, oh, I just want to get to the good part where he does. Remember that time you're like, damn it, I'm 5 issues away from that. But as a first read, I think the slow burn really is effective because it keeps you guessing and theorizing, and they're not force feeding it to us. They're not afraid to let the story be a slow burn, and I really appreciate that about Swamp Thing, especially.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that is a wrap. Like I said, these are just really quick reviews for right now until we get to the TV show and the movies and stuff like that. So enjoy these while they last.
Oh, one thing we could mention, by the time this comes out, it should be after January 6th, right?
Yeah.
Swamp Thing #1 comes out Wednesday, I believe.
Oh, yes, I can't wait.
So, I mean,
review that.
I know you're here for Constantine, but if you're a fan of Swamp Thing, yeah, go pick up Swamp Thing #1. It's a 6-issue miniseries, but show DC. If you want Swamp Thing, go buy those books.
You know what? I don't think that the new 52 Swamp Thing was that bad, but I do think that they lost sight of what makes Swamp Thing Swamp Thing. And I think that one of my favorite things about the Convergence event was the thing that they did with Swamp Thing. Even though it wasn't, the Swamp Thing that we're used to, I really appreciated what they tried to do with the green and things like that. So they were definitely filling the waters for that as well. And I'm really interested to see what they do with the miniseries and if it leads to anything. Heck, I'd even be primed for a Swamp Thing TV show on HBO.
Oh, yeah.
So, I like they've had, and the only reason why I would say HBO is because I feel like they actually handled Spawn pretty well.
Oh, the cartoon. Yeah.
And not the cartoon. The cartoon too. Yeah. But yeah, so like they have the capacity, and their showrunners over there, they give them a lot of leeway to run and do what they want. And with Swamp Thing, it's definitely kind of a tricky thing. You can't have too many suits putting their input into the soup. So yeah. Anyway, I can't wait. I'm excited and pumped. And I'm just looking at the cover and I'm like, remember when comic books were 75 cents? I say it every week, but this week, next week when Batman Europa comes out, I will have spent $20 on 4 issues of comic books. And I'm just like, man, I just want simpler days.
Seriously, I mean, even if you give us the cheaper paper, bring the prices down.
Yes.
I mean, these comic book companies want to get their numbers up. I'm telling you, if they could find a way to drop the prices, their numbers would go up.
And you know what I think it is that, they're writing for, not only are they writing for the trades, but, by making the price increase, they also have to justify making these really long arcs and stories to fill the pages, to 35, pages versus 23, which is what used to be the average. And so it's just like, sometimes these stories do drag on, but they're like, well, they did pay $4 for it, so here's a panel, here's a big splash page, there you go.
But I mean, seriously, if you drop books to even $2 each, you could trumpet it from the rooftops. It's like, oh, look how entertaining these are. Where else can you be entertained for
I'd say
how long? For $2?
$3
Yeah.
for $5.75. Anyway, you'll hear that rant a lot as the prices go up and up and up as the as the issue 50 and 52s get closer and closer. I feel like they're going to be pushing those $4 and $5 books more and more because it'll be their last chance. So anyway, we'll see you in Louisiana next week.
Bye,
we need to do the shameless plugs. So yeah, let's do some shameless plugs. Phil, you can go first, of course.
Well, if you want to talk Constantine or DC or Marvel, anything like that with me, you can email me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com, and on Twitter, I'm at nightwingpdp.
Are you not going to pitch Gotham or anything?
Oh, Yeah, if you want to talk anything Gotham or Batman or anything with me, I also host Before the Bat, the Gotham podcast with Kelly and Tyler.
And we have
Uh,
a round table coming up. I'm excited.
oh yeah, the mid-season finale roundtable. Um, well, we're on Twitter at Before the Bat Pod. I'm also on the Flash Arrow Power Hour with Tyler and Zach, and on the Marvel side, I do all new Marvel Roundup and Super Connectivity with Charlie Esser, and of course for DC, I do the world's finest review with who else? Miss Little Hellfire herself every week.
As for this podcast, you can find us on Twitter at Newcastle Crew. We have a Facebook, facebook.com/Newcastle Crew podcast. And our email is newcastlecrew@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you guys. Can't wait to start live tweeting stuff so you guys can join in with us and get snarky or serious or silly with us. It doesn't matter as long as you're talking anything in the Constantine/Vertigo universe at this point. So yeah, we look forward to hearing from you guys. As for me, you can find me on Twitter, of course, at Lilith Hellfire. I'm on Tumblr. It's lilithhellfire.tumblr.com. I have a new, yes, I know, website, popculturepostmortem.com, where you can check out my old one, lilithhellfire.com. As soon as the TV season starts back up, that one will be back in working order. Looking forward to the mini comic book reviews I'm going to do on Pop Culture Postmortem. So look out for that. So until next week, drive down to Louisiana, do some Mardi Gras stuff, drink some beer, and relax.